I once told a liberal friend of mine, former liberal friend of mine, of course, that women gave birth to children and men gave birth to ideas. He, of course, got very offended. And I tried to explain to him that I was speaking in generalities. I was saying that through my observation of the world, men built it predominantly. Sure, there's women that do physical manual labor and drywall and frame houses and brick buildings and all that stuff. Sure, of course. But predominantly, men built the world. And somebody designed that world. And that's predominantly done by men. It's a fact that men like to work with their hands and think of ways to innovate and right ways to do things, and they create. The vast majority of men work with ideas and making them a reality, and the vast majority of women prefer to be around other women and children and stuff like that. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. That's just statistically, you can prove it with the science, with actual science, not made up fairy tale science that wokesters like to quote by experts that are paid. So I try to explain all this to him, and of course he'd already decided what I meant. There's no way to fix that when somebody has decided what you meant by what you said, because the message received is rarely the message sent, but yet it's the message that you have to defend, even if it's misunderstood, especially when you're dealing with this left-hearted kind of mentality of like, I tell you what you said. And now you're often forced to defend this straw man that's kind of like next to you. And if you just understand that's what that is, it's a straw man. That's not what I said. You're misrepresenting what I said. You're getting pissed off about something that you've already put labels on before I even open my mouth. And now I'm stuck responding to a conversation that I thought I was at the beginning of, but you've already had in your head, and then you just added me to it because I represent all these horrible things, and all things that I'm saying are absolute and literal. So there's no gray, right? Because they're absolute and they're literal. They're the exact meaning. And what I mean by that is that if I'm making a joke, which is often using sarcasm or flipping the meaning, I'm saying something because it's absurd. But look, it's in writing. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what you said. That's what Vlad said when they gossip to the other wokesters, the other leftards. Oh my God, he said that? Yeah, he said that. Those exact words. Yeah, okay. I was being ironic. I was speaking in generalities. But we're not allowed to do that, are we? So people hear what they want to hear, not what you say. People filter the world and the information that's coming at them through their own filters, through their own life experiences, through their own self-talk. Everybody's got a unique filter, and if they're not into having any kind of antivirus software, which is the neocortex, that's where your discernment is, in case you wanted to know. This is your conscious brain that's supposed to filter all the information that comes in, and it's also supposed to be like, hey, is this true? Whether it's coming in or coming out. Hey, is this true? Am I being biased? Am I being fair? Am I being emotional? Or am I looking at the facts that are presented as a mathematical equation, which is the way you should look at information, dispassionately, right? And let me set an example right now for all my Trumpsters out there. I'm one of them, by the way, so just to set the foundation of what I'm about to talk to you about. There's this thing going around. I wasn't actually going to talk about it today, but I'm gonna anyway. On page 188 of his book, The Way to the Top, it's going around that Trump mentions that he talks to his Kabbalah teacher, and people are flipping out about this. Now, This will probably piss off a lot of people, and they're going to say, why are you poisoning the well, Vlad? Well, because truth is not poison. And yeah, it's going to piss you off, but it'll set you free also. Truth will set you free. So we need to discuss it, because that's woke-tarded thinking. Listen, come on, we all got to get on the same team, so we got to ignore stuff that's inconvenient. No, that's how we got here, thinking that there's exceptions to be made. And I'm sure a lot of you guys that are watching this right now either already dipped out or are sitting here kind of getting heated, right? But you know, I'm saying the truth. The truth is that we have to pay very close attention and look at the truth. I am the truth, the way, and the life, right? So it goes hand in hand. If you consider yourself somebody who's following Christ, you got to look at the good and the bad. You got to look at all the ugliness. So yeah, it really looks like it. I've tried to dig into it, and before I go any further, I want to say that I've not been able to find this book because apparently it's not the most popular book. It does exist, but I'm going to have to go look for it in a library or something. I can't find a PDF. I can't find anything. And it's very easy to fabricate such a thing. It's very easy to just Photoshop it in. I mean, we're in the 21st century. This is very easy. And that's the reason why I didn't want to talk about this today initially, is because first and foremost, I don't know if it is true, but I want to talk about the truth of the reaction to this information that people are having. So let's suppose that it is true. There's people that have already made up their mind that Trump is a shill, he's Illuminati. They show this graduation video where he received an honorary degree when he was in Ireland, I believe. They put a little sticker, a little PNG in the corner of the Masons because he's wearing these ceremonial robes to accept his degree, his honorary degree. And they're like, look, he's Illuminati. Look how he's holding his hands. I hold my hands like that all the time. I do all kinds of stuff with my hands. And you just stop the video, take a screenshot, and just prove that I'm some Illuminati dude. Everybody does that. Oh, look, I'm fixing my shirt. I'm fixing my shirt. So I take a picture. Oh, look, Vlad's got his hand in his shirt. Hidden hand, right? Secret of the second veil or whatever. And it goes around. And then you put it in context with all these other legitimate ones, right? And you muck up the information. That's what people do. They react. And they form a decision based on a straw man. They cherry pick the stuff that they want to be true. They don't look at the other stuff that they don't want to be true, even though it might be, but they won't look at it. And in a world of information where everything is at our fingertips, all you got to do is just hoard information that agrees with you. So you could form an opinion, right? Confirmation bias, which is what everybody does. I'm going to form an opinion, and instead of going where the evidence leads me, I'm just going to collect evidence that agrees with me, with something that I've already decided before I even started digging into it. So let's presume that Trump is in fact talking about a Kabbalah teacher and he was learning Kabbalah. Okay, very smart thing to do. I've learned a lot about Kabbalah. I'm still learning about Kabbalah. I'm learning a lot about the Gnostics. I'm learning a lot about everything. So again, I'm a big bad Illuminati wolf, right? Because I've admitted that. And if you take that out of context and put it along with other legitimate stuff, it'll blend right in. This is what people do. Let me tell you that things have dimensionality. So you have to think, you got to think in multiple dimensions. You can't just, oh, here's what it says on the paper. It says he's got a Kabbalah teacher. Okay, let's say he does. Let's say he's learned all kinds of shit about Kabbalah. Let's say he's a Kabbalah scholar. Did you know that the world's financial systems are run by Kabbalists? Everything has to do with the Mazzaroth. The powers that be, right, believe in astrotheology, believe in the stars. They follow the stars. And then they reflect that on Earth. That's why they're called stars. That's why people in Hollywood are called stars. Because they follow the stars. They want you to follow the stars. The stars and everything up in the sky. It's like a giant clock. And by looking at their movements, the macrocosmic movement of the stars, is reflected on the earth in microcosm. So if you look at the stars and you predict their patterns, you can predict what might happen on the planet. And they do this all the time. And then they predictively program you with the internet, DARPANet, right? And movies and shows and news and everything, so that they can make that outcome happen. Because it's not just happening in the stars, but we're also co-creating it at the same time. So we've got free will because everything is in superposition. So even though it's a foregone conclusion because it's all happened before, all of it has happened before. And our free will travels through every possibility. So they want us to manifest a specific possibility so that they can benefit from it. They do numerology, they do all these to read the probability of what's going to happen, and they predictively program us to make that probability more probable. And that's how the entire financial system works. I'm very, very, very much oversimplifying. But these are the people that run the world. So if you plan on being somebody that's rich, this is something that you should be studying. This is something that you would know to study, isn't it? If I told you the secret, if I told you the winning lottery numbers, hey, here's how to get rich. Here's the numbers. Does that mean you're evil because you jotted them down and played them? Would you play them? I would. Absolutely. Now, before anybody asks me if I know how to play the stock market using Kabbalah, I don't. It's a incredibly expansive topic, and I don't know that part of it. I don't know enough to do that. Obviously, I wear the same t-shirt 9 out of 10 times and work 20 jobs. This is my field of interest, not fucking Kabbalah. And I'm kind of go wherever a rabbit hole takes me. I'm not specifically concerned with one topic. I learn as I go. That's why so much of my stuff is trivia and disconnected sometimes. So, dimensionality. You have to understand that if you're not thinking on multiple levels, Kabbalah is a tool. It's a tool, just like medicine is a tool. Everybody's so concerned with like, oh, it's mysticism. No, that mysticism is another way of saying sacred science, things that people don't understand. Invisible science, the way the world works. Ooh, I can't see wind. I'm a magician because I made you feel something and it was invisible and you couldn't see it with your own eyes. It was magic. Electricity makes things light up. Ooh, it's magic. If you show that to somebody in the jungle that's never seen a light bulb before, they're going to think you're a god. It's not mysticism. It's just science that they haven't shown us how it works. And we don't know about it. They keep it secret. And the smartest people in the world know that that's where to look. If you too want to be rich, you know, I've heard many financial people, like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of them, though. It's clear that he's one of them. But I've heard him talk about stuff like this, right? And I've heard many other financial advisors talk about these kind of things. And some of them are definitely in on it, and some of them it's like, they might be. But I don't believe for a second that every single person, myself included, that looks into this stuff and finds it fascinating, it's a tool. Just because you find a tool fascinating, like I always say, I can build a house with a hammer or I can bludgeon someone to death. Doesn't make the hammer evil. What matters is whose hands is it in and what are they doing with it? If you know the system is rigged, and that's the only way to get rich, and that's what you were born into, and you were going to the best schools, and part of their curriculum was study this Kabbalah shit, because that's what they're using to run the financial system. Shh, don't tell the plebs. Would you do it? I would. I wish I'd go to that class right now. So, I want everyone to stop. This is something that I preach a lot. Stop looking at a straw man. Stop refusing to look at the truth because it's an inconvenience to a decision that you've already made. Be willing to be wrong. look to be wrong. Test your theories all the time so that they're homogenized, so that they're airtight, so that you don't ever look like a fool when you're arguing with somebody and they give you a piece of information that you refuse to look at and it pops your little bubble. It's ridiculous. The left does it all the time. And it really bothers me because this is one of the main things preventing the right. Oh, left, right, same bird. Shut the fuck up. That's not how that works. Because there's a genuine version, there's the throne, and a disingenuous version, the pretender to the throne. Mirrors everything, dark and light. So the right wing, as a philosophy, as a strategy of being, not how it's corrupted and full of people that have infiltrated it and made it into a uniparty. When I'm talking about right, I'm talking about the belief system of how things should be, about legitimate conservatism, about libertarianism, all those things having to do with freedoms and the rights that the government enforces in the Constitution, RIGHTS, are a reflection of the rights, RITES, given to you by God. That's what I'm talking about. Because light is not the opposite, right, of dark. And dark is not the opposite of light. It's the absence of light. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the throne, not the pretender. So cut it out with the same bird bullshit. Or at least learn to talk on different levels. Because there's the throne and the pretender to the throne. If we're going to be legitimately on the right, we can't behave like the left. We can't become the monsters we claim to hate. We claim to be fighting against. You know, Nietzsche asked a question: is it better to out-monster the monster or quietly allow yourself to be eaten alive? And I think, in a sense, you out-monster the monster because that's the wise thing to do. That's the only thing that the monster understands. But you do it with integrity. What do I mean by this? Somebody's going to mug you and they're threatening your life. Let's say you got your family behind you and you don't have anything to give them and they say, I'm going to kill you. You have to kill them, right? You got to out-monster the monster. They put you in a position where you have to be a monster because that's the fight you're in and you don't have an opportunity to walk away. But it doesn't mean that you are a monster. It means that you have the ability to be a monster if you need to be. Just like Jordan Peterson talks about. You have to be, if you're a man that built the world, coming back full circle to how I started this, you got to be able to defend noble ideas, even if you aren't the one that gave birth to them, but ones you support. You have to be able to do that and then dial it back down, because that's what a real man is. It's a controlled monster. It's a monster that uses his free will, is capable of terrible things, but uses his free will and controls the beast body impulses to do terrible things and take advantage of people and use his brute force because he's bigger to do horrible things to weaker people, namely women and children, right? But the pretender to the controlled monster throne is allowing yourself to play the same game that the leftards play, which is making shit up. And making shit up, one of the biggest lies never told, is the lie of omission. And if you don't look at the truth, the inconvenient truths that fuck with your theories about the world, and if you keep on addressing straw men in your arguments, and you have no respect for the truth, you're not a follower of Christ, and you're not a serious person. You're just on a team, and you're a pretender. You're not a legitimate person. You're not part of the light. You're part of the black and white dichotomy, the Masonic chess game that's being played on the world stage. Your ass is playing checkers. You just don't get it. That way of thinking has nothing to do with the Great Awakening. That way of thinking is how the sleepers have thought, and that's the reason why we are where we are today. That mentality. Doesn't matter what wing of the bird you're on. Because on that level, that's the uniparty. You're just helping the uniparty, and you're just part of it. Food for thought. See you guys on the next video.